mention about these stages, right? About these stages or the processes that our soul will undergo. So it's a dynamic process and it's a dynamic struggle, and I hope we realize that. So this is actually our nature. Okay, so as displayed on the screen, on the slides, the dynamic struggle of the nafs occurs in three states. These three states are mentioned in a couple of times. A lot of Quranic verses actually state about these stages or these processes. So there is the nafsul amara, the level of nafsul amara, nafsul lawama, and nafsul mutmainnah. Okay, so this is to tell us or to create the realization. So hopefully we can instill this in our mind, in our own self, that we are not a static entity. Even our nafs, our soul do not have a static identity, but it has a dynamic identity. So there will always be this struggle that we will be involved in. Okay, so the starting point, we will look into the nafsul amara. So in the English version, we call it, or we label it as commanding soul, right? Commanding soul. So this is actually the starting point as well as the lowest stage of our soul, right? Lowest stage of our soul, where our individual being is governed by our primary desire, right? Primary desire as well as the ego that we have. So this is nafsul amara. So practically, it comes from the root word, Arabic root word of amara. Amara meaning that to command, right? So here, it commands the person, our being, our individual being, to fulfill immediate gratification without giving any regards to ethics or consequences, its consequences. So it is always about immediate gratification. So this is actually the lowest level of our soul. Okay, so you can refer to the chapter 12, verse 53. Chapter 12 is actually Surah Yusuf, verse number 53. It starts with, indeed, the soul is a persistent enjoiner of evil. Right? So please refer that on your own later on. So I would like to highlight the key characteristic. So when our soul is at this particular level, the key characteristic of our soul is heedlessness. All right, heedlessness. The Arabic terminology to heedlessness is ghafla, right? A lack of our awareness regarding the divine or the spiritual consequences of actions. What covered our stage at this particular juncture is immediate gratification. All right, immediate gratification. So it's definitely the soul at this particular level is self-centric, all right, driven by pride, greed, envy, as well as anger. Self-centric meaning that it focuses only on our own being, self, on our own self. And this is where a kind of animalistic nature appear, all right? Because practically the soul at this juncture, at this level, focuses entirely on physical survival as well as pleasure, immediate gratification. Okay, so perhaps I can give you an analogy. Just imagine like a wild horse with no rider, no one taming the horse, right? No one taming the horse, no one guiding the horse, no riders guiding the horse. So the horse will run wherever its appetite leading it, most often into danger, most often into negative territory. Okay, so that is the context of nafsul ammara. Right, so if we look into the second stage, which is nafsul lawama, please refer to 75, chapter 75, verse 2. Okay, chapter 75, verse 2. This is Surah Al-Qiyamah. And I swear by the self-reproaching soul. So that is a little bit of the translation of the Quranic verse. So later, please refer to the Quranic verse to get further understanding. This nafsul lawama is kind of a turning point. This is where your conscience set in. So this is where the real struggle begins. So this stage kind of represents the great jihad, the internal struggle between the right and the wrong. So the word lawama, right, it is derived from the root word of laum, to blame or to reproach. So this is a stage whereby your active conscience is playing its role. Right. So the key characteristic, like the nafsul amarah just now, is more like immediate gratification, heedlessness, key characteristic. But now the key characteristic of nafsul lawama is moral sensitivity. Okay. So the person feels guilt, or there is some kind of spiritual contraction after committing a mistake. Right. So there is also this kind of pendulum effect. The soul will vacillate between periods of devotion and periods of lapse. At times, you abide by the righteousness. At times, you get yourself leeway or you forget. All right, there is a lapse in terms of your behavior. All right, so this is also, this stage is being characterized by self-correction. Right. Unlike the first stage, nafsul amara, this soul, at this second stage of nafsul lawama, the soul does not find peace in wrongdoings. Like in nafsul amara, immediate gratification, that is the aim, all right, the objective or the direction. But in nafsul lawama, so the soul does not find peace in wrongdoing. So it will always consistently or constantly seeking to return to the path of righteousness or uprightness. Okay, all right. So kind of let me give you this analogy. Like a person learning to walk. They may trip and fall, but they have the awareness to get back up, and definitely there is a tinge of feeling of regret when he or she stumbled. Right? Oh no, I stumbled again. No, I want to do it again. So he or she will be standing up again and trying to walk in a proper manner. Right? So that is nafsul lawama. Okay. So the last stage is the nafsul mutmainnah, or the tranquil state soul, tranquil soul. So this is actually, we can say this as our destination, right? We are seeking peace. We are seeking peace, mutmainnah. We are seeking peace, tranquility. So this is the highest stage that we can go up to, where the struggle had subsided because our soul has found its home in the divinity. So this is the context. Mutmainnah, the term mutmainnah, it is derived from the root word of itmi'nan, all right? Meaning to be at rest or contented, right? Contented. So it is a state of total inner stillness. The key characteristic here, there is an alignment of the individual's will with God's will. So there is the harmony between one's individual's will with God's will. All right. So meaning that what God loves, you manage to instill that in your own soul. What God loves, that is also what your soul loves. All right. So there is a tinge of certainty or yaqeen. All right. This is the level where doubts and anxieties are replaced by a deep-seated trust. Right, the element of tawakkul will appear here. Right, and there is also the characteristic of resiliency, where the soul remain peaceful regardless of external hardship or worldly success. Sometimes, very positive worldly success can also be a form of trial, all right, a form of test to a particular individual. All right, so if you refer to Surah chapter 89, verse 27 to 28, this is from Surah Al-Fajr. To the righteous, it will be said, O reassured soul, return to your Lord, well pleased and pleasing to Him. All right. So those that is the somehow part of the verses 27 and 28 from Suratul Fajr. So if I can give you the analogy, um, like if we have like a deep ocean, while storm may rage on the surface, which is the external life, the depth remain perfectly calm and undisturbed. So this is actually the nafsul mutmainnah, the analogy. If I can make use of this analogy, like a deep ocean, um, like ocean, open, very wide, and then there's storm coming in. So the storm may be raging at the surface of the ocean, all right? So that is reflective of our external life, but the depth of the ocean, all right, the inner being of our own self remain perfectly calm and undisturbed, right? So these are the context, the state of the soul, while we are trying to abide by the axiological indicator of our being, the values that should be ladening our life. So our nafs or our soul will be in constant or in continuous struggle, all right? In this continuous struggle. So our life is not static. Even our soul is not static, all right? It's not static. It's very much dynamic. So realizing about this, hopefully we can drag ourselves into the right pathway, okay? So this is the kind of a comparative summary table that I give you. So later on, you can sort of like look into it. It's somehow, it practically summarizes everything that I just mentioned. All right. So the Amara, the Lawama, Mutmainna. So Amara, the primary driver is the desire, whereby immediate gratification. All right. Remember the analogy of the wild horse without the rider, right? Will definitely follow its appetites. And most of the time will be relegating itself towards danger zone, for example. Okay, so the internal state is definitely chaos, agitation, right? Relation to God is very distant, and definitely the element of forgetfulness is there. All right, when it comes to lawama, the conscience, the primary driver is your conscience. So the internal state is struggle. The moment you get astray, there will be a regret, all right, in you. So relation to God, this is where we are still seeking understanding, seeking the connection, the closeness, right? And then definitely that is this stage of awakening in our own self. So when we talk about mutmainah, the primary driver is actually divine love, right? So the internal state, all right, remember the raging storm on the surface of the deep ocean, and the depth of the ocean remain calm, right? Peace, certainty, relation to God, very close and contented, right? So hopefully we can take it and realize it that this is actually our struggle all the time, right? Okay, so I think that's all with regards to the axiological part. Now let's look into the teleological part. So teleology is actually addressing the issue or the question of what actually is the purpose of our living, right? What actually is the purpose of our living, and how, and definitely returning to our creator. So we will look into these two aspects, purpose and return. Okay. All right. So I have a couple of points that I would like to emphasize here. Right. So the first one is dragging our understanding to the fact that there had been this primordial covenant or al-mithaq, kind of a covenant, kind of a pact that we make with our creator, we make with Allah, right? We make a covenant, we make a pact, al-mithaq, with Allah, right? So please refer to 7172, right? Chapter 7, verse 7172. I'll show you the verse after this. So this is actually dragging our attention into the fact that there is a pre-existing contract. So the pre-existential contract. So let's look into this. So this is 7172. So please remember 7172, 7172. Right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَإِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدَهُمْ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ. So this is actually the word that you guys have to remember. Right, sometimes this verse is known as the verse of Alastu, right? The covenant of Alastu, the pact of Alastu, the mithaq of Alastu. Alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala shahidina. So this is our reply to Allah, right? Our reply to Allah. We replied to him. We said that bala shahidina. An taqulu yawma al-qiyamati inna kunna an hadha ghafilin. Okay. So the word, alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala shahidina. Okay, so this is the translation. And remember, when your Lord brought forth from the loins of the children of Adam, their descendants, and had them testify regarding themselves. Right, we are testifying regarding ourselves. Allah asked, Alastu bi rabbikum, am I not your Lord? All right. They replied, Qalu bala shahidna. They replied, yes, you are, we testify. So he cautioned, now you have no right to say on Judgment Day, we were not aware of this. All right. So this is the covenant. All right. Remember last class, we mentioned about the fact that when Allah mentioned about the trust to be given, right, to the universe, to the cosmos, for example, the mountain declined it, but we, men, human being, all right, go forward and accept the trust or the amanah. Okay, so this is actually the covenant or the pact that we make with Allah. Alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala shahidna. All right, it's a very beautiful verse that can drag us into realizing that we are upholding that amanah. We already make a promise to him. All right, make a promise to him. Right, so there is this existential contract that we have made with him. All right, we have made with him. So before the physical world was created, every human soul existed in a spiritual realm. Right, so this is our understanding. Our life does not begin when we were born into the world. No, and then our life does not end when we face death. No. All right. So that is the Western conception of developmental psychology, right? From cradle to from crib to deathbed, for example. That is not the period of life for us human beings. All right. So before the physical world was created, every human soul existed in a spiritual realm, alamul arwah. Right, this event will establish the faith that our faith is not learned from scratch, but actually remembered. All right, but actually remembered. Okay, so the event is known as Yaum of Alastu, the day of MI not. All right, Yaum of Alastu. So this is actually the covenant, the day where we make the pact, where we make the promise. Okay, so this is actually the deliberation of the verse. All right, God gathered the entire lineage of Adam and asked, am I not your Lord? The response is that every single soul replied, Bala, yes, we testify. Right, so this implication, what actually is the implication? This create the fitrah or the natural disposition. All right, natural disposition, not the realization that we have to instill in ourselves. Every human being is born with an innate subconscious memory of the divinity, of the divine. It's already in us. All right, it's already in us. Okay, all right, so here, that is actually, so we have to understand it, our own self with that kind of fitrah. That is the divinity in our fitra, right? Divinity in our fitra. But the fact that we are given the free will, we can make our own choice, right? Whether to go to the positive side or whether to go to the negative side. But deep down, we have to understand the primordial covenant that we have made that created the fitra in us, that we are born with an innate subconscious memory of the divine. Okay. All right. So the thing that I somehow with that kind of fitra, we have to understand, coming to this point, the last point that I wrote here, atheism or forgetfulness is not seen as a lack of information, but as a veiling of this original witness. All right. So there's a veil actually that hinder us from understanding, from remembering, all right, from understanding or remembering this original witness, all right, this alastu bi rabbikum, right, bala shahidna thingy, okay. So that is the thing. So when we forget, that is a veil that hinder us to remember about the covenant, about the promise, about the pact that we have made with Allah, right? So it's a struggle for us. Once we forget, we have to drag back ourselves into remembering what actually is the purpose, the true purpose, or the teleological aspects of our being. Okay, that is the first point, right? So please remember this 7172. All right, 7172. Right. Tonight you can sleep with 7172. All right. Okay, now, second point. So since that is actually the fitra, right? That is actually the fitra. The ultimate end is actually worship as well as our obedience, right? The fitra actually we innate in ourselves, in our being, in our creation, the divinity element, all right? The divinity element, that is our fitra. So with regard to that, the ultimate end is actually our ibadah or worship or our obedience, right? Our obedience. So let's talk about the fulfillment of the promise. We have made the promise just now. That is the purpose of our life, because we have made the promise. Therefore, that promise become the foundation of our life, the purpose of our life, right? If the mithaq was the promise, ibadah is the performance of that promise in this physical world, right? As simple as that, right? Written, very simple, very solid, very easy. But doing it, instilling it, and the fact that the second point that I mentioned on the slide, beyond ritual, right? You have to treat your ibadah, your obedience actually not merely as a ritual. You have to go beyond it as mere ritualistic in nature. So in this context, ibadah is not just prayer and fasting. It is the total orientation of one's life towards the pleasure of God, right? Towards the pleasure of God. So it goes beyond just that. At the very beginning, our life actually, just to share with you something, our life actually is very much hierarchical, right? Hierarchical. Sometimes, we are down there, rock bottom, right? Sometimes we can go up until to the point that Al-Ghazali mentioned or used the word corporeal angel, where we are not angel, but kind of similar, where we can reach that level of corporeal angel. It's very hierarchical in nature. So when you go beyond ritual, you're not performing, perhaps at one point in time, you perform the rituals, all right, the salat, the fasting, the psalm, the zakah, the hajj, and many more forms of ibadah, not because of wanting to please him, but fulfilling the amanah, right? Fulfilling the promise, because this is what we have promised him, right? So please refer to Surah Ad-Dariyat, chapter 51, verse 56. And I did not create the jinn and mankind except to worship me. That verse is very simple. Allah mentioned he created jinn and mankind, did not create jinn and mankind except to worship him. Right. That is very simple. but doing it, instilling the true values in performing that ritualistic activities is another issue. All right. So again, it is a struggle. All right. When you want to perform your salat, sometimes there are so many things in your brain, in your neurons, for example, you fail to get to the highest level of khushu', for example. So, do you question yourself? Most of the time, we will question ourselves. So, those are the core thing. This is what I meant by beyond ritual, right? It's not even about, oh, if I don't perform it, I will be given, I will get into a nar, the hell, for example, right? If I perform it, so the heaven or the paradise will be given to me, for example. Sometimes, you go beyond just that, right? Because of what the promise that we made, right? Okay, so that is actually the Quranic mandate. Please refer to chapter 51, verse 56. And again, the goal, dragging it or trying to tie it back into the context of our soul or nafs, to transform the soul into a mirror that reflects divine attributes, right? Mercy, justice, knowledge within the limits of human capacity. Right. Do you remember I mentioned to you the fact that the qalb is almost like a mirror? So if you polish your qalb somehow, it will become a mirror and you can see through the mirror. You can see justice. You can see reality. Right? But if your heart or qalb is corroded by sin, with sins, for example, it will be blackened and you cannot see the truth. Right? So this is what we don't want in life. All right. So ibadah actually is tied into the goal of transforming our soul to become a very clarified mirror, enabling us to see the truth. Okay. All right. So this is the second point. The third point, our life kind of a circular journey. So at the end of the day, at the end of our time, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. To him we will return. All right. So this is again teleological. We have to prepare ourselves for our return. All right, for our return. Okay. So here we're talking about returning to the source, right? Returning to the source. So returning to the source, meaning that we will return to him, our creator. All right. With regards to Islamic cosmology, all right? Islamic cosmology. Okay, the word cosmos before we get into the detail. Cosmos here, for the lack of equivalent terminology, will be translated into like universe. All right. But bear in mind, the term universe is very much physical or materialistic in nature. Right? It's physical sense. All right, physical sense. When we talk about cosmos, when we use the term cosmos, it is indicative or it is inclusive of all the non-physical or immaterial or the ghaib context, all right, of the universe, right? That is cosmos. As of universe, it's more like physical. All right, it's more like physical. So, so in Islamic cosmological point of view, time and existence is looked at as circular. All right, this is the term mabda wa ma'ad. Right, we come from God, mabda, the origin, and we return to Him, ma'ad, the return. All right, so it's circular. All right, so the path is life is a bridge or a journey back home. So why we are here? Because we want to go back home, right? Want to go back home. So the life in the world, the physical world here is the space whereby we prepare ourselves for that journey back home. Okay, all right. So the soul often feels a sense of homesickness or restlessness in the material world because its true home is in the divine presence, right? So check that, whether or not you have it in you, right? So we should have this kind of feeling of restlessness, right? Restlessness if we do not obey by God's command, for example. Restlessness if we fail to perform our ibadah to the highest level that we can, for example. All right. So our life will always be colored with this kind of feeling or sensation of homesickness or restlessness in this material world. Because of what? Its true home is in the divine presence. Right. So the journey back is either an ascent through purification or a descent through heedlessness. So I mentioned to you just now, like, our soul is not a static entity, right? It's very much dynamic. Our life is being created as very much dynamic. Every single seconds of our life, there will be that flow from good to bad, from bad to good. All right. Okay. So the evolution of the soul is actually coloring the journey back. Whether we ascend ourselves through purification, Al-Ghazali mentioned about Tazkiyah nafs, all right, or descend through heedlessness when we forget, when we fail to remember, right? When we fail to remember. Okay, so this is the very nature of our life, the circular journey. Okay, so what actually we want to achieve at the end of the day? So this is actually the gold standard, Qalbun Salim, all right? Qalbun Salim. So Qalbun Salim, the heart, which is sound, very a whole, it becomes one whole, intact, all right, entity, peaceful and purified. Okay, so this is the only acceptable currency to ourselves, right? The only acceptable currency to our own self. Okay. So what is the outcome at the end of the day for our life? The success. How do we define our success? All right. How would you define our success? The state of the heart at the moment of return. Not now, not here, not at present, not in the physical world, but the moment of return, when we return to our Creator. So that is how we define success. Right. So the success of our journey is measured by one particular specific outcome, the state of the heart at the moment of return. Remember, our life, inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. So there will be a returning point, right? So at the moment of the returning point, all right, we can measure the success whether or not we have developed in ourselves qalbun salim. Okay. So the definition qalb is the heart, salim, whether or not it is sound, whether or not it is intact as a whole, peaceful and purified. The most important thing is purified. Okay. So what is the characteristic of a sound heart? So these are the characteristics of a sound heart, right? It's very simple, you know, as if like it is very easy, but believe me, it's not as easy as how easy it is for me to write everything on the slides, right? How easy for me to utter it in words, sharing with you whatever little knowledge that I have as of now. It's more than that. It's not easy. It's a struggle. It is a constant struggle. Right, so it's the characteristic of a sound heart, free from shirk, right? It recognizes, so our heart has to recognize there is no ultimate power other than God. All right, believe me, you know, sometimes in this world, materialistic world, hedonistic world somehow, sometimes, you know, without us realizing, all right, suddenly we shifted, right? The God actually is material in our life, right? Don't go up to that point, all right? Without us realizing. It recognizes no ultimate power other than God. Free from malice, it holds no grudges, envy, or arrogance toward creation, meaning that portraying yourself, portraying your heart, right, manifested in terms of your behavior, right, very much positive, right? Positive behavior, right? Attached to the real, right? Attached to the real, it is not enslaved by the illusion of the material world. So the world is just, I mean, the world has a lot of elements that can drag us away from the purpose, all right, from our own purpose, from our real purpose. Okay, so, but we have to live in the world. We have to embrace the living of the world. We cannot like push it away 100%. All right, but it is a struggle. That's why I mentioned it is a struggle, right? It is a struggle. So please refer to this Surah Al-Shu'ara, chapter 26, 88 to 89, verse 88, verses 88 and 89. The day when they will not benefit anyone, wealth or children, benefit from wealth or children, but only one who comes to Allah with a sound heart, right? Qalbun Salim. So it is mentioned there, right? So that is another realization. So at the end of the day, for the purpose of our written, the development of Qalbun Salim. Okay, all right, and I think this is okay. So this is the summary checklist, right? Summary checklist. The fact that we have the covenant pact, right? So the key question that you need to ask yourself: have I forgotten the original witness I gave to my Lord? Have I forgotten the pact or the promise that I gave or made with my Lord, for example? And then the fact that based on that promises, pact, covenant, mithaq, right, the ibadah. Am I living in a way that honors that original yes? Right? Original yes. Bala shahidina. Right? Bala shahidina. Yes. Okay. So am I living in that way? All right. Am I is my life honoring the original pact or covenant that I made with Allah? The yes, the agreement to uphold the amanah or the trust, right? Okay, and then the journey, right? The journey. Am I moving towards light or drifting away from it? We use the word light, right? Our heart enlightened, all right? Our heart enlightened. There is a light shining so that we can see the truth, right? Our qalb has been sharpened to the fact that it becomes a mirror that allow us, that enable us to see the truth. Right? Again, the end product upon the moment of our return, qalbun salim. Is my heart becoming lighter, purer, or heavier, or harder? All right, so these are the summary checklists. Can write it everywhere just to remind you this is the nature of our being. Okay, all right, now getting into the why. So we are done with the context of what, the epistemology, the ontology, axiology, as well as the teleology. Now we get into the question of why. Right. So the question of why address this nature, the necessity of the knowledge of man's nature. Why do we need to understand about man's nature? All right. If we don't understand about our own nature, what will happen to us? Okay, so that is actually the why. Right. Okay. So now I want to drag your attention to the point that looking into this knowledge of the soul as something fundamental, all right, something fundamental. So the context of I highlighted or colored red, elective philosophy or functional necessity. So it's between the two, elective philosophy versus functional necessity. All right. So how urgent, how important it is for us to understand our soul, right? It becomes functional necessity. Once we are a human being, it is a functional necessity to understand about our own self. It's not about elective philosophy, right? Elective philosophy. It's just that one of the philosophy out there that you can choose not to accept or not to reject or to accept. No, it is a functional necessity. Knowing oneself is a functional necessity. Functional necessity on functional requirement to our human existence. All right. Why? Why? Because of what? It is the mirror to Tawheed, the mirror of Tawheed. So what is Tawheed? All right. The understanding, the knowledge of the Creator. Right? So not knowing yourself, you will not be able to understand or know your Creator. So that's why study the soul? Why jump into this context of understanding the human soul? Because of this functional necessity. All right. So the link is that the mirror of Tawheed. Knowing one own soul, you will be dragged to being able to know your Lord. Right? The link, the mirror of Tawheed, true knowledge of the Creator is inextricably linked to the knowledge of self. Okay, let's say, for example, if you are an engineer, but you cannot operate a complex machine because of what? You don't know the internal of the, or the mechanics, the internal mechanics of the machine, right? So us human beings, we cannot navigate our life without knowing the mechanics of our own soul, right? Without this knowledge, we are accidental being, right? Reacting to stimuli rather than acting with intention, all right? So, ignoring the soul leads to a very specific modern crisis. High-functioning human being, but hollow. Now, this is what known as fragmented existence, right? Fragmented existence. So to ignore the soul is to live a fragmented existence, knowing the how of the world, but losing the why of being, right? So we don't want this, right? Okay, imagine a captain who knows everything about the stars, the external world, all right, but knows nothing about the whole in his own ship, the internal, all right? Okay, so okay, that is all right, and then introduction, why study the soul, and then now it's into the monotheistic foundation, because we mentioned about Tawheed, right? So this is actually the internal mapping, right? The internal mapping. Psychology will provide the internal map to gear our being towards the Creator, right? Towards the Creator. Okay. So the, like I mentioned just now, we are living in the modern world, all right? Historically, idols come in the form of physical statues, but modern idols come in a lot of form. Money can become one's idol, all right? We can easily be distracted in that sense, all right? So self can be your own God, right? You're self-centered, so as if yourself is the God. Materialism, secular ideologies, right? Okay, so please refer to 59 and 90, all right? 59 and 90. Okay, there is also this cognitive and behavioral alignment. I don't have much time actually, but I think my slide will cover up the gist that I have described earlier on. So please refer, all right, to the slide for further explanation. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via my email, all right, jusmawati@iium.edu.my, so I can further sort of like clarify things for you. Okay, all right, so I'm sorry because I can't sort of like complete everything, but inshallah I will attend to all of your questions. So may Allah bless us all. Thank you so much for spending your time and listening to my lecture. All right, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Prof. Jusmawati, for that nice conclusion to the class today, your class today. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, with Allah may bless us all with Qalbun Salim, inshallah, as we are striving in this dunya, seeking His pleasure. Thank you so much, Jazakallah khair. Our next presentation and class will be from Prof. Shukran. Prof. Shukran Abdul Rahman is covering the class on mental health and the prophetic model of work ethic. And today also is the wrapping up class, the last class for that one. Prof. Shukran, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. And we can hear you very well also. The floor is yours now, Prof. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Thank you,
Please.
Dr. Muhammad Rashad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amin amma ba'd. Yes, Dr. Rashid, you are right. This is our wrapping class, or last class rather. We are going to have a very final recap or recapitulation session at the end of this online short course. I think it will be in June. Yes, as Dr. Jusmawati mentioned just now, the focus in this course are the four, what you call that, philosophical dimensions of knowledge. We are not only deliberating the subject or the reality of a subject, but we also dig into the sources of the subject. Like you use, she used the term axiology today, and I think my topic is very much focusing on axiology. I mean, my ontology is on the axiology. So this is like the ontology on axiology. I mean, the subject on values. Right? In knowledge, when we talk about knowledge, we want to know the sources. So you talk about the epistemology, and in this course, you have been exposed to the variety of sources, okay, that explain a subject matter, that explain the reality of a subject matter. And in our course, we want to know the reality of human. We want to know the reality of human characteristics. The main literature or the mainstream literature of psychology define psychology as a study or as a scientific study of human behavior and mental processes. But when we go to the epistemology, rich epistemology that Islam has to offer us, which is not only empirical, but also Quran, Hadith, there are so many subjects, there are so many principles, there are many concepts that explain human, that explain not only human behavior, but also human mental processes, emotions, spirituality, not only in this world, but before as well. We talk about covenant just now. I mean, what happened to us before we were born. And in Quran and Hadith, there are also human behaviors, which are the consequences of the behaviors taking place on this earth in the hereafter. What would be man's or human behavior in the hereafter? Right? I mean, is it important for us to also know the behavior of man in the hereafter as a result of their behavior here on this earth? Right? So this is what we are deliberating. We're deliberating on the ethics, right, of our behavior here when we behave on this world, and then the focus of my lecture is work or workplace, right? I mean, it is not only limited to workplace or organization, it is actually anywhere. Okay, how do we apply our knowledge on ethics, or how do we apply ethics in regulating or in governing, in controlling, in improving, in developing or modifying our behaviors? Last week, we had listened to one verse in the Quran that Allah will not change the fate or the condition of a group of people until and unless they themselves change, right, their characteristics or their condition. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. So what we underscored or what we derive from that verse is the importance of learning, which is the very gist in the definition of change. Like, why do we change? We change because we interact, right? We change because we have experience, and that is the meaning of learning. Learning is the result of or relatively permanent change as a result of. So learning is a relatively permanent change as a result of interaction, as a result of experience. And inshallah, you are going to acquire more knowledge because of your interaction with your professors, with your lecturers on this course, with your reading, with your what we call the discussion, I mean, question and answer, and so on and so forth. So hopefully we are able to change ourselves, we are able to develop ourselves, we are able to improve ourselves. All right. And today we will focus on this Prophet's model of work ethic, ethics being the foundation of psychological health. Now, as a prelude, we'd like to say this: human behavior at work is not shaped by one factor. There are many factors, but maybe to 1% is only a factor, right? So human behavior at work is the result of his or her interaction is the result of interaction between external environment and internal constitution. So external environment involve people, organizational culture, people who are your superiors, your colleagues, your subordinate, your clients, right? Organizational culture, I mean, the way you behave, the way you act, the way you react, the way you give response in organization. Rules, what are the do's, what are the don'ts, which are imposed by your organization or which are imposed by your profession. The policies in your organization, the policies of your profession, technology that you use, technology that you do not use as well, right? And the regulation system. Now, human behavior at work is shaped by a combination of this external environment and internal constitution. And the internal constitution we always refer to as KSAUS, knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics. So those are the capacities, these are the competencies or capacities that would enable us to make judgment, to do action, and more importantly, to have meaningful work, right? And we want to underscore the word ethics because ethics is our focus of our discussion. So internal constitution entails this aspect, and the one that we are zooming in is ethics. So ethics is an internalized moral capacity, and it guides how we interpret the rules. Is the rules important or is the rules burdensome? If the rules not necessary, okay? So our ethic would regulate the way we interpret the rules and regulation imposed upon us. Ethics also guide us to use our discretion. There are times that we have to use discretion, whether we should deviate from the rules and regulation, whether we should give an exemption to certain rules and regulation, or whether we should come up with a new rules or new policies and so on. Ethics also guide us to act when no one is watching. Now, we had discussed this a lot before this, the concept of Iman, the concept of Ihsan, the concept of Islam, right? So how do ethics guide us, regulate us when there is no rules, when there is no discretion and there is no supervision? So the Prophet model of work ethic, right, is a comprehensive framework which is derived from the Prophet's sayings, which derives from the Prophet's hadith, which derive from Prophet's tradition, approval, right? So it gives us some good practices which will guide our behavior, our work behavior, our relationship with our subordinates, our superiors, our clients, and whoever we are dealing with at workplaces. And this Prophet's model work ethic also create us or make us responsible workers who have responsible resources, who deal responsibly with resources. Because in organization, we do not only deal with our tasks, duties, and responsibilities. We do not only deal with people. We do not only deal with our clients, our superiors, our subordinates. We also deal with resources, financial resources, office resources, human resources. How do we deal with them? How do we deal with the resources, right? So this Prophet's hadith contain many guidance, teachings, principles, which we can turn as ethics at workplaces. So behaviors in workplaces and organization are shaped by a repetition. We put this in this diagram, by systems. With the systems, we mean rules, policies, technology. Our behaviors in workplaces and organization is also shaped by a relationship with others, and more importantly, with the internal conscience, ethics especially. Now, when supervision is absent, rules may not be enforced. When supervision is absent, policies may not be visible. We do not know of any policy because, nobody is telling us about the existence of the policy. In this case, ethical character is important. Ethics is important. Ethics is important because it would be the driver, it would be the one regulating our actions, our conduct. Now, in this case, the Prophet models of work ethics encompass the Prophet's conduct, Prophet's teaching, Prophet's approval related to work and life. Right, so there are many thousands or 100,000s of hadiths which we can refer to in order to derive principles, in order to derive concepts which can be outlined or listed as ethics at workplaces. The Prophet model of work ethics integrates internal virtues. For example, sincerity, amanah, adal, fairness, right? So the Prophet models of work ethic promotes external excellence. Because of the internal constitution, we are able to manifest external excellence. We can show our dedication to organization. We can show our commitment towards our work. And most importantly, right, we realize, we are aware that Allah is always watching us. We realize that whatever good thing we do will be rewarded. We are always aware that whatever bad thing, even a minute one, will be also punished, will be punished by God. Right, the Prophet model work ethic aligns with spiritual accountability. Yeah, our accountability, we are accountable. We are accountable not only financially, we are not only accountable physically, we are accountable spiritually as well. Like we said just now, whatever minute thing we do, whether it is good or bad, there will be consequences. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَشَرًّا يَرَهُ. Okay, so there are consequences of any actions, how little or how big they are. So this is the meaning that we want to attain, and those meaning of work, they can be learned, can be derived from many prophets' traditions. Now, one concept that we would like to highlight today, before this, we highlighted the concept of motivation, the concept of attitude. Today, we want to highlight the concept of self-worth, right? So self-worth, what an individual treats as morally important, what we treat as morally important, serve as the basis of how we value ourselves. How do we value ourselves? So this is referred to as self-worth, how we understand our own value. So in this case, ethics will determine whether we value ourselves or otherwise. How do you value yourself? You value yourself because of the competencies that you have. You value yourself because of the knowledge you have. We value ourselves because of the ability that we have, and also because of the knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics that we have. So the moral principles is responsible to guide us whether we have good values, whether we have positive values or not. Okay, the moral principles that guide what individuals consider right, what we consider ourselves responsible, and what tell us that our work is meaningful to do or otherwise. So that is internal regulator, okay, that tell us whether we are of value or otherwise. Now, when ethic is internalized, when ethic is rooted in values, when we say ethics, we always refer to values. And when we talk about values, we refer to the systems inside us that tell us what is right, what is wrong. And that is also related to conscience. Okay, we have conscience, dhamir inside ourselves. Okay, who tells you that this is wrong? Yourself tells you that that is wrong. Who tells you that you have to go on with that behavior because this is a good behavior? Yourself will tell you that that is a good behavior. That is your values and your conscience. Okay, and your feeling of responsibility as well. So when ethic is internalized, self-worth becomes stable. Your self-worth becomes stable. You are not in doubt. You're not in doubt whether your behavior is a correct behavior or a wrong behavior, because you are being substantiated by knowledge that you learn from hadith, that you learn from Quran. Now, this is why we have to always learn. Okay, the word just now, the verse just now said that we have to always learn because we need to change, we need to develop, we need to improve from bad to good, from good to better. All right. So self-worth will be determined by your knowledge, especially knowledge about values, knowledge about ethics. Okay. An individual thinks I have worth because I strive to do what is right. I have values because I'm sincere. I have values because I am responsible. So I have to go on with this behavior because this is the right behavior according to Hadith, according to Quran, according to the social norm as well. Now, this produces more intrinsic motivation because of the belief about the knowledge, about the attitude towards your action just now. It provides you with motivation. It also provides you with greater psychological stability, and you are less dependent on external factors. You are less dependent on praise. You do not have to wait until people give you compliments before you decide to continue with a good act or not. Yeah, so you are less dependent on praise. You are less dependent of status awarded upon you or reward reinforced upon you. Now, when ethic is weak or when ethic is externalized, right? What is that? Yeah, externalized means you rely on rewards, you rely on status granted upon you, you rely on approval by others, okay, or you fear of people blaming you, things like those. So your self-worth becomes fragile, your self-worth becomes conditional as well. A person thinks I'm only valuable if others approve of me or if I succeed outwardly. This will often lead to anxiety or constant self-comparison. I think nowadays people are talking about FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So they always want to be updated. They always want to be praised by others, right? So if you do not internalize, means you externalize, meaning you want others to approve your action or your behavior. This will lead to anxiety, constant self-comparison, burnout from over striving for validation. You are you deplete your energy because the energy is used to look for validation. Right? Burnout from over striving for validation. Okay, because of this, you need to go back to your own values. You do not rely only on outside factors, but your own knowledge, your own values, the ethics that you have learned. So in this case, ethics provide the moral standard, and self-worth grows around that standard. Your self-worth will grow because of the moral standard you uphold, because of the moral standard that you know. If the standard is internal, if the standard is principled, then self-worth is stable. If the standard is external and if the standard is approval based, then self-worth become unstable. Then you or we might suffer from low psychological health because of the energy that we use to look for validation, look for approval from others, instead of using the energy to keep on developing self and also society that we live in. All right. So self-worth versus external validation and how these two relate to psychological health. There are many Prophet hadiths which anchor on or which focus on self-worth, which relate self-worth with inner moral dignity, such as God consciousness. Okay? Self-worth determines an individual's psychological health. Self-worth determines an individual's psychological health, especially when it is anchored on spiritual meaning. The Prophet Muhammad SAW clearly addressed the essence of self-worth through the concepts of human dignity, inner values, and also moral worth. There are many authentic hadiths that directly convey the Islamic understanding of self-worth. You can go to this diagram later on. Okay. Now, going to psychological health. Psychological health begins from within. Like we said just now, internal constitution. Psychological health begins from within, and it requires strong will and strong determination. strong readiness, strong will, strong determination. It comes from within an individual. Okay, validation from within an individual. Knowledge of whether you are doing a right behavior, you have to avoid wrong behavior come from within you, not from outside factor only. Self-worth is essential for psychological health, but it can be weakened by harmful inner conditions. Yes, our internal factor can also do otherwise. Our internal factor can also do otherwise. Like just now, we believe that we have done right thing. We know that this is the right way to do. We compliment our own self, or we reward our own self because we believe that we have achieved something good, right? Now, we also have this problem, moral vices. The moral vices can also damage the soul and disturb inner being. Self-admiration. Now, you admire yourself, but you overly admire yourself. Self-admiration can also lead to low psychological health. Arrogance, envy, hypocrisy, to name a few actually, So these are conditions that may harm or that may deteriorate our psychological health. Psychological health begins from within, but we do not want to have this internal condition. We want positive internal condition. Now, how do we know whether we have good personal or internal personal condition? Now, we need to learn, we need to know, we need to derive concepts, principle from hadith. There are many guidance, many teaching principles that Prophet Muhammad SAW has taught us. The first step to healing is self-awareness, to recognize our own flaws. Like these are some of the flaws. We need to know whether we have this or not. If we realize that we have these issues, we have this internal condition, what do? Repentance. Repent. Right? So every day, if we recite Surat, for example, there is one istighfar, Sayyidul Istighfar that we recite every day. Right? So you can look for that istighfar, repentance and continuous self-improvement. This is necessary to purify and to strengthen our soul. I mean, in addition to dua, there are many activities, there are many actions, many behaviors that can improve ourselves, that can purify our soul as well. I hope you have learned all this in Tazkiyah to Nafs, the chapter or the lecture on Tazkiyah to Nafs. These bad traits, given the example, these bad traits do not harm only individual. Self-admiration, arrogance, envy, hypocrisy, to name a few, also harm relationship or damage relationship with others, with boss, colleagues, subordinates, client, family members, and even to yourself. These bad traits undermine inner happiness and peace. You are not at peace, you are not at ease because you are always thinking of approval, you're always wanting for approval, you are afraid of not being approved by people in your society. Right? So this is another diagram that you can study after this. Some of the hadiths, I would like to quote one from Sahih Muslim. Ethical conduct that protect emotional well-being. لا تحاسدوا ولا تباغضوا ولا تدابروا وكونوا عباد الله إخوانا. Right? Do not envy one another. Do not hate one another. Do not turn away from another. Be servants of Allah as brothers. Now, these are subjects. These are subject matters which are rich in exological notions or dimension, which are rich with ethical ideas, ideas on ethics, right? So envy, hatred, hostility are sources of psychological distress to yourself and to others as well. Ethical discipline, that regulate ourselves, protect the heart from toxic emotions. Social ethics, good ethic with others, promote emotional peace and relational well-being. So we need to relate well with ourselves. We need to relate well with others. We need to mobilize good feeling, We need to mobilize others' good feeling as well, so that we can have peace, we can have positive well-being or good or positive relational well-being. Okay, another hadith. ليس الشديد بالسراع إنما الشديد الذي يملك نفسه عند الغضب. The strong person is not the one who overcomes others physically. We did not overcome others physically, but the one who controls himself when angry. We control ourselves when we are angry. Okay, emotional regulation is a moral achievement. I mean, our achievement is not only physical achievement, but emotional. I mean, the ability to regulate our emotion is also an achievement. Ethical control, ethical self-control prevents impulsivity, regret, and emotional harm. So where do these come from? From the internal constitution, from within us, internal factor. Strength is defined not physically but psychologically. Okay, the Prophet Muhammad SAW said that, a strong person, a stronger person is better than a weak person. And that strength is not only confined to physical strength, but also psychological strength. Okay. Self-worth that we have, right? The self-worth that we have towards ourselves have to be substantiated by ethics. And by ethics, we know that we refer to values, we refer to the internal regulator, which are guided by revelations, which are based on regulation, which are anchoring on regulations. Okay, the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Innama bu'ithtu li'utammima makarimal akhlaq." Right, so there are many books on akhlaq which are written in Arabic actually. They are rich, they deliberate, the hadith from the ethical perspectives. Okay? Now, self-worth is fundamentally substantiated by ethical values. Our self-worth is substantiated by ethical values. Ethics represent internalized moral principles rooted in core spiritual teaching. Meaning, ethics is not automatically coming to us without learning. Okay, we have to learn, and there must be teaching as well. Okay, there must be teaching of values that we derive from the Prophet Hadith. Through these principles, we learn how to view ourselves, we learn how to evaluate our conduct, and we learn how to give meaning to our existence, why we are on this world. Okay, Allah has created us as Khalifa on this world. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi Khalifa. What does that term Khalifa refer to? Okay, in our Islamic studies class, we learned that Khalifa refer to individuals, to all of us, okay, who are sent to this world to safeguard religion, Hifzuddin, to safeguard the way of life, okay, that Allah has taught us, to safeguard the way of life, to Hifzuddin and siyasat dunya, and administer this world. What do we administer? Like, we are psychologists, we administer, we manage, we study, we learn human. Right? So that is the Khalifah, the Khalifah dimension that we play, because we deal with human. Relationship between ethics and self-worth lies in how ethical commitment shapes our sense of dignity, our identity, and our inner values. The ethics therefore anchors self-worth in moral integrity instead of social approval, instead of status, instead of comparison with others. So this is the summary of what we had discussed just now. Another hadith, Al-birru husnul khuluq, wal ismu ma haka fi nafsik, wa karihta an yattali'a alayhi an-nas. Righteousness is good character, and sin is that which troubles your heart, and you dislike that people come to know of it. So this is talking about inner disturbance. The inner disturbance that we experience is a moral signal. Ethical clarity produces psychological tranquility. So we need this. Okay, we need to be clear of the ethics that can lead us to know what is right, what is wrong. Because knowing what is right, knowing what is wrong will direct us to choose the right behaviors and avoid wrong behavior. Right? So knowing the right behavior, knowing the wrong behavior would enable us to choose which direction to take. And that would lead to psychological tranquility. Okay, so this is a summary of the hadith that we have looked at just now. And in Islam, there are many principles, there are many concepts that we can derive to become ethic. Some of them are as shown on the diagram. Okay, now we want to go straight to work ethic. Rather than talking about general ethic, we are zooming into work ethic. What is work ethic? By the term work ethic, are we referring to ethic at work only, or ethic at everywhere we operate? Okay, so work ethic can be understood as a constellation of psychological character, psychological disposition, or psychological inclination that shape our approach to work. Like going back to that ayah, inni ja'alun fil ardi khalifa, right? So our life is task. I mean, our existence on this world is task to safeguard religion and administer world, right? So ethic play a great role here, okay, because it would shape our way to approach our work. Whether we approach our work as only task or as ibadah as well. Now, work ethic encompasses values that guide our behavior. Work ethic encompasses our attitudes, okay, that orient us towards our tasks. What is our orientation to our task? Like it, hate it, or no choice? We have to do it. Okay, our attitude. What do we know about our work? Whether our work is a critical and important. Without us, I mean, people will not enjoy life, will not attain well-being in their life. So what do we know about our attitude? Sorry, what do we know about our work? Okay, work ethic also encompasses belief about the need to accomplish tasks, belief about the need to accomplish duties and responsibilities. We will say tasks, duties, responsibilities as amanah. Do we know this? Do we associate the concept of amanah in the accomplishment of our TDR? Or we accomplish tasks, duties, and responsibilities because they are in our job description? Work ethic encompasses motivation. Okay, the motivation to perform duties effectively. Okay, motivation to perform duties with a sense of purpose. Okay, we embark on some work activity because we are attaining our organizational goals and our personal goals. Right? So this is purpose-based or purpose-driven motivation.
Recording stopped.
All right, it encompasses also commitment to diligence.
Recording in progress.
Yes, Prof, I can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
All right. Okay. Now another slide on work ethic, the core meaning of work ethic. Work is not merely an economic activity, but it is a sacred and spiritual trust, amanah. Okay, work ethic talk about also ibadah, and then this concept of ibadah is rooted in religious tradition as exemplified in the Prophet model. Right? So work ethic tell us that we are involved in work, right? We are indulged in work, okay, which is beyond making money. Why do we work? We work because of amanah, going beyond making money, going beyond earning a living, okay, going beyond meeting economic needs, and the most important thing is, okay, not only for material success, right, but for hasanah fi dunya wal akhirah, for our hasanah and for others hasanah, our parents hasanah, our family hasanah, our societal hasanah. Okay, it emphasizes on duty, ethical responsibility, and spiritual accountability. Okay, work, okay, promote purpose-driven behavior and ethical workplaces, high-performing workplaces. Now, work ethic is an internal guide, okay, as opposed to external factor or external regulator. Work ethic act as inner moral compass, not just external control. Work ethic enables productivity without relying solely on rules, without relying solely on supervision from superiors, and without relying solely on incentive. Work ethic function as personal monitor or conscience, characterized by sincerity, trustworthiness, and responsibility. Now, purpose-driven behavior and work ethic. Now, we are talking about psychological health, work ethic, and how are they being mediated by purpose-driven behavior? Okay, how purpose-driven behavior contribute to psychological health, right? So what is purpose-driven behavior? So just now we said that work must have meaning. Okay, when we are embarking on certain tasks, when we are doing certain activities, or carrying out certain reliability, we need to know why we are doing that. Okay, that is purpose-driven. So purpose-driven behavior refer to actions that are guided by clear sense of meaning. We know what we are doing. Yeah, we know why we come to class. We know why we go to work, right? Okay, we are guided by clear sense of direction, clear sense of purpose. Not determined by routine only, not determined by profit or external pressure alone. So purpose-driven behaviors involve our knowledge or our awareness of why we are doing something. Okay? Not only to complete the task, but more than that. What are the goals? How is our task accomplishment related to or linked to our organizational goal and even our personal goal? Purpose-driven behavior involve motivation. Motivation is shaped by values, long-term involve making choices. It picture personal within this frame. Within that framework, it encourages us to act with intention and meaning. It helps us to create workplaces that are not productive, but also guided by strong ethical principles. So work ethic, the framework would enable us to sustain high performance. We maintain our good choice of behavior. At the same time, we maintain integrity in professional way to carry out the responsibility. So prophetic work ethic, we're talking about prophetic model work ethic. Okay, in the prophetic work ethic, a prophetic model work ethic, work is a form of worship, it's a moral amanah. Okay, are guided by intention, niyah, and ihsan. And that framework of work ethic by the Prophet will help transform our work from a mere economic activity into purpose-driven behavior. Purpose-driven behavior refer to actions that are guided by meaning, by values, as well as by accountability to God. The Prophet's work ethic provides the spiritual and ethical foundation for sustained high performance with integrity, even in the absence of external control. So prophetic worldview, okay, involve niyah or intention, trust or amanah, as well as excellence. And they are internalized, they are purpose-driven, and guided by ethics for ethical performance as well as sustained integrity. Okay, so these are the deliberation of what we had discussed just now. I would like to go to slow tuner. Time is 4 minutes left. Right now, knowing all those, okay, knowing the importance of work ethic, okay, what would be our takeaway? What do we do in order to enhance our work ethic? I mean, what do we do in order to nurture, okay, work ethic among our, colleagues or workers in organization? Using the 4 types of intervention in psychology, okay, we have divided this approach to nurture or to enhance work ethic by 4 clusters. Number 1, personal level intervention. Number 2 is human resource management intervention. Okay, the third one is techno-structural level intervention, and the fourth one is engagement level intervention, or in some literature they use the word strategic intervention. So, at the personal level, what do we do? Individual process, okay, to add knowledge on the concept of work ethic, especially the prophetic model of work ethic, because the prophetic model of work ethic is not only based on norms, but it is based on revelation. I mean, it is not only important for worldly purposes, but also for divine purposes or hereafter purposes. Okay, we do reflective training to help individuals understand what is niyyah, how to set niyyah, I mean, what to do when we say niyyah in that sense. Right? Reflective training on intention, ihsan, amanah, mausuliyah. Okay, create short modules on Prophet word ethic, okay, reading material, clips, posters, things like those. Guided self-assessment, for example, how ethical you are today. Personal development plans, mentoring, coaching, ethical journaling. Now, so these are at the individual level approach. Human resource management level, make codes of ethic clear, like you have a booklet on work ethic, which are accessible, okay, to all, which can also be discussed or which are discussed in onboarding session or induction session. Integrate ethics into recruitment, performance appraisal, promotion criteria. Design and conduct regular training on ethics. You have recognition for people with good ethical conduct. Create clear procedures for ethical concern, for whistleblowing, fair conflict resolution. And to organize leadership development to make leaders know about ethics and make them as ethical role model, which can be emulated by others. This is human resource management. At the structural and technological level, develop clear ethical guideline. Okay, create ethical guideline. Develop standard operating procedure for the use of resources, on how to use resources, how to make decision, how to deal with client, customers, conduct ethic audit, risk mapping, build ethical checkpoints into workflows, establish ethic committee, integrity unit, ombudsman, create knowledge system, for example, document and analyze prophetic hadith on work ethic. Right? So you can have pamphlet, short notes. Nowadays you have clip, podcast, or whatsoever. Reporting system, which is safe, fair, non-punitive channels for ethical concern. And then engagement, the last one. Organization-wide conversation on purpose of work. purpose of service, trust and responsibility, regular talks, organized talks, face-to-face or online talks, forum on ethics, values, collective learning, okay, usrah, for example, study circles, group discussion, storytelling culture, share examples of ethical courage and integrity at work, team charters that agree on shared values, that undertaking letter and so on, social responsibility project and leadership visibility. For example, leaders consistently show or model ihsan and amanah in decisions and behavior. And the list goes on actually, depending on the needs and nature of your organization. With that, thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Prof. Shukran, for that nice conclusion to the class on mental health and prophetic model of ethics. I think a lot of information was shared today in concluding that. And those charts, there are some who have been asking about whether they can find them. Yes, we are streaming this on YouTube, and videos are all there for you to review. So you can go back to YouTube, get the video, and you can freeze those slides that Prof was explaining and do some revision on them if you wish, as you've been asking on the chat. So inshallah, that is available, and everyone can review the classes from the first day until the last day on YouTube as well. Thank you so much, Prof. Shukran. If there's any other questions, we will share with you later, and you can respond to them in writing, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. We will now break for 30 minutes and come back at 11 o'clock
Recording
for the next
stopped.
lecture. Assalamu alaikum, and we meet after 30 minutes.
Thank you, Prof. Shukran.
Thank you, Dato'. Thank you, the participants.
So next week we will start our program a little bit late at 10
Yes,
o'clock.
Ramadan Kareem to all of you. Ramadan Kareem to all of you. Yes,
We'll
Ramadan Kareem
inform
to
the
you, Dato'.
participant about that, inshallah.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak to you.
Inshallah. I can see you, Prof. Can you hear me, Prof? Please unmute yourself, because we can't hear
Okay,
you.
all right.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay,
Alhamdulillah.
okay,
Inshallah, we have about 2 to 3 minutes more. You
okay.
can put your slides up if you wish, Prof.
I share.
Okay.
Wait, let me do how.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Rahmatullah.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yeah.
Tak betul. Okay. Am I sharing correctly?
Yes, but you may want to click on the slide so that you can enlarge the screen,
Oh, okay, okay.
the presentation mode. Yes.
Now you got it, eh?
Yes, correct. Now it's clear.
Okay. You can see the whole thing, right?
Now we can see also the side slides. You can just enlarge it like before you
Oh,
did. Just now you did it okay.
oh, wait, man. Oh, you don't see everything now.
Now we see everything on the side also.
Oh, on the side.
Just click the presentation one.
Wait, oh, wait, hold on. I think maybe, yeah, maybe
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
this one, huh? Oh, but you are seeing also the side, eh?
the side panel.
How do I remove the side panel?
Just now you did it okay. I think you just
Oh, prior, huh?
yeah.
Okay, let me stop it first. And then I go back again. Mm, This one.
A retired professor has forgotten.
Apa dia?
A retired professor.
Now okay. Now
Who,
okay.
who's that? They saying retired professor.
Dato' Jamil.
Huh?
Dato' Jamil is
Oh, Datuk Jamil. Oh, Datuk. Assalamualaikum.
he's just mentioning about himself. Dato' kan? Retired professor. Now, Prof is okay. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Dato' Jamil, with your permission, I will begin now the next session.
Okay, all right.
Inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب
Recording in
العالمين
progress.
نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Brothers and sisters, now we're entering the third class of the day. Just to highlight on our program before we start the lecture, that starting next week, as I have just put on the chat, our classes will move 1 hour ahead. So, I mean, 1 hour forward. So we will start at 10 o'clock. This will be for week 5 to week 8, 21st February to 14th of March. From week 5 to week 8, it is during the month of Ramadan. We will be doing our classes from 10 o'clock Malaysian time in the morning until 1:30 p.m. So it is moving 1 hour later than what we are doing now. So please take note of that, starting next week, inshallah. Okay, now we are about to start our third class of the day, mental health and its mental health issues and Islamic perspective. Mental health issues and Islamic perspective by Professor Dr. Rahmatullah Khan. Today is his last fourth class in this series, and he will be concluding the class with this lecture for 45 minutes starting now. Prof. Rahmatullah, if you're ready, the floor is yours. فليتفضل مشكورا.
Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Rashad. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaikum assalam.
So now we are coming to this is my fourth and last week for this session. Alhamdulillah. Let's look at this fourth week now. Fourth week we'll be talking about integration, prevention, and also community mental health. Because in this week, what we hope to cover will be early identification of mental health concerns in primary care, mental health promotion in the healthcare system, and then collaboration with families and religious leaders and community sources on the in plus all that. And actually, there's one question that from the last week that I want to respond. So maybe I need to see my screen. Wait, I will share it later. Let me discuss this question first before we go to this week, because this question is quite I think it was of concern, because I think there was two people who asked that question. Dr. Rashad Miss gave me the question. What the question is about emotional draining among social workers. The question is actually sometimes we get so absorbed with the level of their sadness, frustration, and negatives as they narrate their tragic stories. Because, you know, when you have session with people, they have all this kind of sadness. That's what the question is all about, as they narrate the tragic stories. So, how to cope with this? How to handle this kind of situation? This is what the question is all about. Okay, now, this is actually a thoughtful and honest question, actually, especially some people who have done this before, who have seen some people going through these problems, mental health issues and all that. So what this description is actually real. And many social workers, even psychologists, experience this, and counselors even, but because psychologists and counselors, we have been trained how to handle this kind of situation. So maybe for social workers or other people, maybe I can try to explain a little bit how you would go. Okay, now, actually feeling emotionally drained, listening to clients' sadness, frustration, traumatic stories is not actually a sign of weakness or lack of professionalism on your part. It's not, it is actually a human response, to sustain the empathy and the emotional exposure. I also do in my sessions with clients, sometimes I can feel, very, like emotionally drained with what is, being relayed to me, you see. So, okay, now, let me answer this question. I have 6 points that I want to talk about. First is understanding what is happening. You see, because when you are in that situation, when you feel absorbed by the client suffering, so there are a few processes that happens. One is actually, it's like what we call emotional labor. You see, because it's like you're holding the space for some kind of intense emotions. That's one. The second is actually vicarious stress. You see, it's like being repeatedly exposed to other people's pain. And then another one is what we call over-identification. You are unconsciously carrying the client's emotions as your own. It's because we are listening to the stories, what they are saying. You sort of like unconsciously, you are also carrying their emotion as your own. So sometimes you can't control that. You can't control that. Some people get so upset after that, or they feel pain. So sometimes the social workers or people who are doing this mistakenly interpret this as I'm not strong enough, when actually in fact it means you are empathic, you want to show empathy, but then it's like emotional exhaustion. How do you cope with this? So this is, first you have to understand what's happening in yourself when you're doing that. And then second thing is actually the compassion versus carrying. So, all right, now, compassion means what? Means understanding and caring. Caring means what? Means absorbing and owning the pain. That means you are trying to absorb the client's pain and, and own it yourself. You are called to support. You see, actually, you are actually called to support, not to suffer in place of the client. You see, you just need to support only, not like to suffer, because the client is actually feeling all this pain and all that. So, so that means internally you have to remind yourself during or before the session, this pain belongs to the client. My role is to help them hold it safely, not to carry it for them. I just want to hold, I just want to listen. The pain belongs to the client, not to me. I'm not going to hold it. I cannot carry it. It's too much for me. But I will want to hold it. So this kind of internal reminder must go on with you before you handle the situation or during the situation. Because sometimes you can be so absorbed that you feel lost. Oh, what I'm going to do. So in that situation, what you do is you have to tell yourself this, you see. So, all right.
Dr. Jamil, you have started sharing your screen and it's blocking the slides.
Yeah. All right. So that's
Please,
the
Dr. Jamil, please switch off your screen sharing.
okay.
Dr. Jamil,
Okay.
just 1 minute, Prof. I think Dr.
Okay,
Jamil is...
never mind. Yeah. I think, he's working on the Satun. I met him in Satun. Datuk Jamil. Very interesting. So, never mind. I think we can continue while this, try to focus.
Just explain, I just continue for 1 minute. I will let him know.
Okay.
Dr. Jamil, can you hear us?
Okay, now.
Okay.
All right, now. Okay, so just now we were talking about this compassion versus carrying, you see, because you want to show that you have compassion, understanding, and caring, but you are not going to take over that pain. So that's second. Okay, now third thing is practical strategies that you can do. Okay, so how you can do if you want to face all this? First, before the session, you take a brief pause, maybe about 10 or 15 seconds like that, and then you set an intention. I will be present, but I will maintain my emotional boundaries. I will be present there, but I will maintain it. And then during the session, you notice your body, tension, heaviness, shallow breathing and all that. That one you need to notice that. And you use subtle grounding. Subtle grounding means slowly exhale, slowly exhale, feet on your floor, make sure, because you are actually on the ground, so that you want to be sort of like, no, look, I'm in this situation, I want to help this client. You see, so mentally label emotion instead of absorbing them. See, example, okay, mentally inside, this is sadness. This is sadness. Rather than saying, oh, I feel overwhelmed. My God, how is she going through this thing? No, not that way. You have to say, okay, this is sadness. This is what she's saying. Okay, I'm going to try to understand it further. So something like that, see? So while you are in this, during the session, you have that. You sort of like going, in fact, I will give one handout later on. We'll share in the chat about grounding, how you do it. Okay, now, then after the session, what do you do is you don't rush immediately into the next session or the next task, what you're going to do, You sort of like, you need to have like a closure ritual. So either you walk, you have a brief walk, you walk away from that session, or you do some stretches, or even you go to the sink, wash your hands, or you take a drink, sip a drink, something like that, I sometimes, what I do, I will walk out, I will go somewhere and then come back. You just want a few seconds like that, because you want to sort of like cope with that situation, because this is actually overwhelming, you see. Or if you have a supervisor, you debrief with the supervisor, or even a trusted colleague. If you have somebody you can trust, that can be confidential, you can discuss. Wow, that session was really bad. Oh, I'm feeling, this. So it's sort of like, then you come back to yourself. You see, so ending a session, psychologically is as important as professionally, because you already ended the session, but now psychologically you need to end. You need to get out of the situation. You see, so this is actually okay. So now come to the fourth thing. So reflect. You reflect. Don't repress it. You need to reflect. You try to suppress all your because if you suppress your emotional reactions, it can lead to burnout, because you don't want to feel it. So it's going to affect you, or numbness or irritability. Instead, ethical practices should be supervision, reflective journaling. You write down a little bit how the session gone, or you have a peer discussion. Actually, these are not actually signs of incompetence. They are actually professional maturity. You see, for example, as clinical psychologists, we have supervision sessions with our supervisor. So we discuss these issues. And even though my own experience also, after I finished my master's training, I continue to have supervision, for 6 years like that. So that, I can take it, I can cope with it. So this is what we call the reflecting. So you need to reflect it, whether you write it down, or you have a peer discussion and those things. Okay, now the fifth thing is actually what is the Islamic ethical framing? From an Islamic perspective, this can be framed gently, like, for example, okay, caring for others is a noble act, it's noble, we care for others, but destroying oneself in the process is not required. Allah doesn't want you to destroy yourself, you see, because you need to take care of yourself for future. You need to help a lot of people. You need, to take care of yourself so you can do more, so you can help, so you can continue. So because Islam emphasizes what? Amanah, mean the trust of the self. Wasatiyah, the balance. You have to balance. We discussed that last week, remember? And then removing harm, including harm to yourself, to your own self, is it? Because if you don't remove it, you see, that is going to cause harm to you. That's why you cannot, become burnout and all that. So, and you are not rewarded for burnout. You are actually rewarded for your sincere effort within sustainable limits, you see. So, it's like saying, protecting your emotional well-being allows you to continue serving others. You see, so if you can protect your emotions, yourself, so you can keep on helping other people, you see. If you don't take care of yourself, so what's going to happen? You can't cope, you can't handle anymore, you see. And, this is actually a responsibility, and if that, you see, there was one case, one what you call a psychologist, but not trained in clinical, this psychologist somehow had a patient, a depressed patient, and the psychologist thought that that can help the patient, So listen to so because without training, what happened is the patient goes on, and this psychologist doesn't know how to handle. 2-3 hours it goes on, you see. And then, it's actually making the patient become worse, because what happened is, if you don't know how to cope with it, or how to help, how to, have compassion, show compassion and understanding, and also, control the whole situation, it will show to the client that, there's no help, nobody can help me. So this is very important to go for training. Okay, now, the final thing is actually watching for warning signs, because if emotional drain becomes persistent exhaustion, or you become detached, or you dread, you feel dread after every session, or before the session. Oh my God, how am I going to handle this kind of, what we can do, or emotional numbness. You don't feel the emotion. So this is a signal for you to pause, seek support, rebalance, and push. So not to push some more, because if you push but without help, without support, you will have problem. So actually, okay, I want to end this question by saying that feeling emotionally affected by client's pain means you are human and caring. You need to feel that. If you don't feel that, then you are not. It's not like, if you cannot feel, you listen, and then you don't feel it. Wow, that's not human actually. Yet you can't show. You must feel it. And the goal is actually not to feel nothing, because sometimes people say, oh, don't feel, otherwise you cannot cope with it. But actually to care, the boundaries, reflection, and the balance, so that you can continue helping without losing yourself. This is what it is. Okay, now let's go back to so I hope I have, wow, this actually I spent a little bit my time for that. Let me go back to this session today. Okay, now we go back to the session today. Okay, now, so in this week, what we are going to do is we are going to integrate all that, what we have done. What we have done actually. Okay, now, what we have been doing is, in the first week, what we have done is we have we look at understanding mental health. So that's what we did in the first week. And then we move on. What we did actually in the mental health, we talk about a continuum, mental health as a continuum, distress as part of human experience. And then we also look at Islam and psychology, how we address what you call complementary domains. And then we go to the second week. What we did was we were recognizing distress and disorders, right? And so we look at what you call anxiety and depression, and then we look at why faith does not protect against mental illness, because mental illness is just like any physical illness, but it's a different. We have to handle it. You have to cope with it. And then we come to the third week, where last week we talked about stigma and these effects help seeking and treatment. You see, stigma worsens mental health outcomes. So, and actually seeking help is consistent with Islamic ethics. All right, now. So now, for this one, this week we'll go into prevention and integration. Okay, now, why integration matters? Integration matters because mental health is multidimensional. You see, so you have to look at various areas. You cannot just focus on one thing, because single lens approach just actually increase harm. So this is so then we look at this. You see, you have this. You see, it's an integrated. That means you have medical support on one hand. You have spiritual resources, and then you also have psychological care. So all these things are involved in the what we call integrated model of care. So communities give this support. So that's why we say that this is an integrated model support. You cannot just look at one side, because sometimes people say, oh, only spiritual, if you are strong in your faith and all that, you won't have all these problems. No, it's not necessary, not true. Because it can happen. And sometimes you see a lot of people also who all seem as if they are spiritually strong, but then they have problems, you know, psychological problem, or even medical problem also, isn't it? That's why, like, if someone has a what do you call medical problem, let's say someone has a heart problem, can you say to the person who having a heart problem and hypertension, oh, you know, you just you have to have a strong faith, you have to pray, you have to strengthen yourself, do zikir and all that everything will go off? It won't, isn't it? It won't happen, because there's a physical thing there. If the physical thing is also in that condition, same thing with the mental health, isn't it? It cannot go off just by having, you know, it's strengthened by zikir. That one help, but not only that. See, I think we discussed that last week. So prevention is what you call a responsibility. You see, because why? Because most crises develop gradually. Because it slowly, you see, so it slowly develops. But then if you, so that's why you need to do prevention, to take care. Otherwise, it will, you know, slowly the crisis develop, and then you know, you have conditions. You have what you call this, you know, situations whereby people cannot handle, the crisis get worse. And because early signs are often missed, because there are some early signs that you can pick it up, but sometimes people missed it. So it leads to mental health problems. So that's why prevention is you know, is a responsibility for us to handle it. Alright, what are the early warning signs? Early warning signs are, you know, when someone social withdrawal, doesn't want to participate in, you know, or the what you call relationship, you know, has a problem. The person, you notice that the person doesn't participate much anymore, you know, or doesn't want to join groups or whatever. So this is one of it, social withdrawal. And then you have mood changes. You can see, you know, if the person used to be very happy person, and then suddenly he's, you know, not. So this is also another warning sign. Either you can see the signs of anxiety, or even you know, some kind of not depression, but some, you know, changes in the mood. You see, like for example, this is if you observe very well, if you can see a person's mood, can just by looking at the face, you can detect that the mood is already changed. So that, let's say, if the person is like this, you know, this is like happy. But if you just when the answer, the you can see from the effect, this is the mood, and you can see. So this is also an early warning sign. And then you have decline in functioning. Decline in functioning means what? The person doesn't not productive as before, or he cannot function. Let's say been missing classes, or if they are working. But if working also, maybe the person is not actually functioning properly at work. So this is what we call decline in functioning, because you can notice that if you are used with the if you are constantly with the person, then like even our children, we will notice that. Okay, then we go to the next one. So burnout is actually as a prevention issue also, because if you don't handle anxiety properly, because what happened is after the anxiety comes this burnout. Because when burnout, that means people are become exhausted. There's a loss of meaning. They can't figure out what I'm doing, or there's an imbalance there. So if this burnout is being allowed to happen for some time, so it will lead to depression. So that's why you need to see when people is coming to this burnout situation. So we need to try to reverse it, to try to work out, find out how, before it comes to depression, isn't it? So, all right, now then we go to this wasatiyah. We talk about this wasatiyah. Is a balance, because balance means what? You need to have moderation, so that you can sustain, then you can continue your work. You see, like for example, let's say, that's why, like, in fact, I think the prayer, 5 times prayer, is also a break for us, isn't it? Because otherwise we won't break. We keep on, like if you work, if you don't have the prayer times, then you will keep on working. You see? So that is like a break also. It's a rest. You see, so that is a balance. From work, you rest, you go and in prayer, we know we have to take time. We go take wudu and all that, and then maybe wait for the azan and then pray, and then you pray the sunnah and then pray the fard, and then you have sunnah, some of you zikir and all that, and then so that is a time that's been given for you to. It's not like that is the balance actually. It's balance, you see, because otherwise, if you keep on working and you don't have this break, this rest, so then it's not balanced. So then it will be a problem to you, see. So because of this, so you cannot be extreme. See, that's why we promote moderation. In moderation, you can sustain. If you can sustain yourself, then you can continue. You can continue, see, until the time comes. So so that's why actually this is actually an amanah for you. Self-care, taking care of yourself is actually an amanah. So okay, now so then so when we look at community mental health settings, where are these community mental health? It's actually at the workplace. You can have support and help. In the mosque also you can help it. Families as well as schools. The only thing that sometimes in the mosque, maybe I don't know, maybe I can be a little bit what you call biased a little bit, but what I've seen is actually we don't in some mosques we don't see this help being given. Maybe some they do, trying to like I've seen some mosques that they provide some help to some people who are who need people, but in terms of looking at their mental health needs, these are not actually addressed at. So this one actually can be looked at, because these are actually mental health setting whereby we can help the people through all these settings. You see, families, yes, definitely, because in families, like for example, if you have children, you need to also look at their emotions and try to find out if they are okay. Then you can give. So this is actually help needs to be given there. And then at schools also, they sometimes identify some students who are having difficulties and all that. So these are actually mental health settings that need to be working together. That means if we are what you call workers, social workers, or even psychologists or counselors and all that, we can work with all these all these sectors for mental health setting. And then, all right, now you have also, now we need to talk also the boundaries, the roles and the boundaries, you see, because if you look at psychologists, what do psychologists do? They provide assessment, they also do treatment, you see. So, and then religious leaders, for religious leaders, they reduce the stigma and they encourage that. They need to encourage help. You see, they can help certain area, but then if they notice, as we discussed last week, they notice that this is getting what you call more difficulty, then maybe or need to look by a psychologist for assessment and all that, they can refer that, provide it, so these are religious leaders. And then the community also need to provide support as well as referral, because sometimes community can give support, materially as well as morally, and then can also suggest, so that some of these people who having mental health issues can be referred, because we know that there are not many psychologists that in our community, so more access to psychologists is actually also another problem also, in the sense, because some people cannot pay for the services, you see. So and if unless the community provide it, like sometimes in hospitals also, the what you call waiting list is quite long, and so that's why sometimes the community can help work together with the psychologists to to what you call provide assessment and treatment. But this one needs to, so we know that these are actually the roles and the boundaries of what we are doing, so that we don't go to another to other people's cross the boundary and do that work, you see. So okay, now so now when we look at this Islamic ethical principles, you notice that, you see on the right side there is wasatiyah. Wasatiyah is moderation, and then you have ikhtiyar. Ikhtiyar is responsibility. That means everyone has a responsibility to take care of themselves, take care of the people in the community, take care in their families and all that. So this responsibility is there. And then you have this compassion, rahmah. That means when we need to show compassion to people who are facing difficulties. So this is very important also, because if we don't show compassion, then it's a difficult situation, for the community. And then you have this removing harm. Daf'u dorar. Daf'u dorar is actually removing harm, because it needs to be removed. Because if you see that harm is being done, so it needs to be removed, because you cannot just focus on this moderation, responsibility, but then not worry about this harm. Because if there's harm is occurring in the community, we need to address it and and work on it and removed it. So and then why okay, now we have this issue here. Why ethical care is not why ethical care is not, you see, what ethical care is not. So it's not moralizing distress, because moralizing distress, that's not ethical care. Because if you are saying that, maybe because you are distressed, you are inflicted by all this problem, because you are actually your faith is not there, you are all those things. So this is actually not ethical. It's not us to tell people that, oh, your iman is low, that's why you are depressed. Yeah, you have not you don't because it's not us to tell them that. And how do you know that? You see, so unless you are the Prophet, see, even the Prophet doesn't do that, doesn't tell that. See, he just give advice and all that. So another thing is, care cannot be replaced with advice, because care is different than advice. When you give advice, you are actually, you may not even know what the person is going through. See, so this is actually it's not care, just giving advice, and then you don't know what the person is going through. You know, how can you just give an advice in that sense? So this is it's not actually ethical by just giving advice and then not working on the care the person needs actually. And then the last thing here is delaying referral, because if you see that the person is actually facing difficulties, is having issues that may then need to be referred. The person need to be referred to some to a professional to help, unless you can help. But then most of most of these cases come to you can't help. You see, you need to refer. So delaying it. When you delay refer means what? When you say, oh, never mind, don't worry, this thing can go off. You maybe you strengthen your iman. You pray, ask for, yeah, praying is okay, but then this referral needs to be done. So delaying is not ethical at all. You cannot delay when you know that the person has a problem and you cannot help with it. So you need to refer it. See, and then okay, now maybe here we can if we can discuss on the early burnout scenario. You see, if like sometimes in this community we can see some people, when they are working so hard, they're helping, they're trying to do so much, and then suddenly you notice that their own their own self is not taken care of. Then you know that this is actually coming to burnout. So in that case, you have to really try to help, how to get the person to realize that, look, he or she is facing burnout. So need to do something, needs to look back, plan the work, don't balance, have the balance. So these are what you call important to look at. So okay, now this is coming to the end of this session today already. So actually prevention actually matters, important. It is very important to prevent, because we cannot wait until the person becomes the problem become a crisis, and then it's getting more difficult to help. So taking care, improving their mental health, all those issues that we have discussed, is very important. So actually it is important for us to look at the prevention. And actually, the next thing is the balance. Balance actually sustains the service. So that means if you don't have balance, then it's not service at all. You need to have a good service so that it become balanced so that we can balance our daily life. So so that means service must be done. You need to if you're not balanced, service is not done, because what happens is the person goes into burnout and get depression or whatever. Then it's like, so that means if you are taking yourself balance, you balance your work, you balance yourself, then it will make sure that you can continue the service. So it sustains. This is what the meaning is. It sustains your service. So that means you need to work on balance. You have to look at yourself whether what you are doing daily is balanced or not. See? So, and then this integration actually protects dignity, because by integration means you are actually looking at the situation as a whole. You you understand also that there are other areas that needs to be looked at, that needs to be worked together. There are, although you have boundaries, but then you know that you need to work with other people, you need to work with other areas to help people to provide your service, or you want to offer support and all that. So this is important in that sense. And the community is very important in terms of this, because when we look as a whole, we are working in the community. So we have to look at different areas in the community, as we discussed just now, to work to make sure that this mental health issue is being under control. It doesn't affect us. So, isn't it? So, okay, now I think, yeah, my time is almost up, isn't it? So, Dr. Rashad, I think this is maybe we go this final reflection. So, mental health care is about dignity and sustainability. So that means if we do it correctly, then we can sustain it. So if we look at all the areas and work together, I think it can be a sustain. So this is what mental health care is about, because we cannot work in silos. We cannot be thinking that, look, this you just do your job and it will self-solve. So no, you have to work in the, and you know that there are other areas, other sectors in the community that needs to work together. So we cannot work by ourselves alone. So we have to work together within the community and as a jama'ah lah. In Islam also, it is what you call respecting each other's different role in the community will also help in this mental health care. We cannot be working alone. So I think with that, I hope I can end it. And actually, I have a few handouts that I will share. I will send to the secretariat to be shared to this what you call this participants lah. If they want a few, I'll share to the secretariat. So I think that's all. Inshallah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Prof. Dr. Rahmatullah. I think that summary was really beautifully done. And I can't stop thinking, how can a person or your profession draw that line between sympathy and empathy when you started addressing the question of listening to the client, the customer, or the patient, and then not getting immersed in their world, but detaching at the same time so that we can sustain such a noble and difficult role the mental health care professionals are playing in our daily lives. Inshallah, may Allah reward you, Prof, for that beautiful summary. And hopefully we can attain that balance, sustainability and balance in our lives, so that we can proceed doing and continue doing what we are doing in the service of Allah. Jazakallah khair, Prof. Rahmatullah. Thank you so much
Right.
for that conclusion of your class today, the fourth class.
All right.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay.
Our next class will be on Tazkiyah therapy by Dr. Bagus Riyono. I think I can see you, Dr. Bagus. You're already in the Zoom. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. We can hear you very clearly. Do you have any slides to share, Prof?
Yes, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. You can try to upload them, see if we can see them. Yes, they are
Can see?
visible.
Yeah.
Yes, module 4, the 5 psychological states. You can now maybe enlarge the slide.
Okay.
Yes, it's very clear. Alhamdulillah. Yes, Prof, the floor is yours. You can begin now. Bismillah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa syukurillah la hawla wa la quwata illa billah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Allahumma sholli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi asma'in amma ba'du. My fourth module is about psychological states, meaning that it is the up and down of our psychological condition that we need to realize, we need to acknowledge, and also we need to manage. Okay, I will start with the Quranic message, from Surah Luqman, verses number 34. The translation is especially, the message. The message here is that only Allah knows everything about the future and everything about the babies, in the womb and so forth. But we as a human being, actually, we don't have we don't have certainty about our future. This is in here. This mentioned that even what we will do tomorrow, what we will earn tomorrow, we don't know, and we don't know where are we going to, die, and when and so forth. We don't know. So we only know that there will be the end of our life, but we don't know how and when and where. It means that actually in our life, what we are facing is uncertainty, and uncertainty is not something bad. It is the reality. So we can illustrate in the nature, and also the weather and so forth. If we ponder, if we contemplate, then we will understand that actually what we are facing in our life is uncertainty. And actually this is already studied in psychological research, and it is found that rejecting this reality actually is the root cause of any psychological problems. Okay. And also life, the metaphor of life is like sailing in the ocean. So it is mentioned, for example, in Surah Al-Isra, verse number 61 under 70, that our journey in life is like, sailing on the ocean, across the ocean. And this is also the metaphor that is used by Imam Al-Ghazali in his book, The Alchemy of Happiness, yeah, that our life is like, sailing on the ocean, and then sometimes we forgot that we have destination, but then we are trapped into the beauty of the oceans, the islands, and then we are stuck in there. So when we think about the ocean, actually it is the message that actually uncertainty is what we are facing in our life. And we can have storm, we can have, many kind of things that happen on the ocean. Then it's also a metaphor of our life. All right. If we put it into, a mathematical formula, yeah, actually, we can illustrate uncertainty. It's like a bell curve, yeah? It's like a bell curve. Because uncertainty is the condition between bad things and good things. Uncertainty is in the middle. So we can see here that uncertainty become the highest when it is in the middle, which is the probability of 50-50, yeah? 50-50 chance is the highest uncertainty. And based on this formula, we can develop the theory about the psychological states, because our psychological states actually influenced by or determined by the reality that our lives is full of uncertainty. Okay. Before we go to the psychological states, yeah, we need to understand deeper about uncertainty. When we talk about uncertainty, when we think about uncertainty, actually, there are two possibilities. Uncertainty means it's not certain, right? So what is there is possibilities. So the two possibilities can be a positive one or a negative one. So within uncertainty, we can find or we can experience some positive possibilities or a negative possibilities. And still within the framework of uncertainty, the positive possibilities, we call it as hope. So hope actually is the positive side of uncertainty, because hope is not certain, yeah, but it is has a positive energy. But on the other hand, the negative possibilities is risk. So when we talk about uncertainty, when we imagine that we are, sailing on the ocean, then we can, find land, yeah, as a hope, or maybe we can face the storm as the risk. But all of them actually is still uncertain. When it happened, then it's decided. But when it has not happened, it is still in the in context of uncertainty. So that is actually the metaphor of our life. So when we study, when we work, when we try to achieve, some certificate and something like that, actually is our effort to increase hope. So we cannot 100% rely on that, because not everyone who has finished study can have job. Okay, so it is just an effort to increase hope, and it is a good thing, because risk is not something to pursue. Risk is something to avoid. Yeah, something to you know, to keep ourselves far from it. So that's why in psychology, the term risk-taking behavior actually is not quite correct in the meaning. Yeah, because when people dare to face challenge, they are not taking risk. Actually, they are taking opportunity. Okay, so risk is something that you have to avoid. Risk is something that you have to calculate so that you can avoid it. But hope, it is something that you have to pursue, or something that you have to strengthen in your heart. And when we plot these three variables into a curve, a graph, yeah. So actually, when we talk about uncertainty, it has two sides, yeah, hope and risk, yeah. This is also happen if we are sailing on the ocean, yeah. So this is a metaphor, yeah, that actually risk is always there, but our core, the core of our strengths is actually the hope, yeah, and uncertainty is something that connect risk and hope. Okay, so the research on uncertainty actually is already done in the psychological literature, and the variable related to that is the intolerance of uncertainty. So intolerance of uncertainty is the attitude that we don't accept uncertainty, the attitude of expecting certainty in anything that we do, in anything that we foresee in the future. So if we expect certainty, or if we intolerance of uncertainty, then it's not good for our mental health. So the intolerance of uncertainty is the root cause of all mental issues. Why? Because when you do not accept uncertainty, means that you reject the reality of life. And when you reject the reality of life, you will live your life with disappointment, because what happened in your life is not always in accordance with your expectation. It's not always in accordance with your wants. So the first step to keep our, our health, our mental health, is to accept the realities that our life is full of uncertainty. So intolerance of uncertainty is the opposite of accepting uncertainty. Okay, that's why this is a problem. And what the therapy, the Tazkiyah therapy, or the all other therapies should do is to advocate to make the client understand and accept the reality that life is full of uncertainty, and focus on hope, focus on increasing hope, make effort to do anything that gave you more opportunity, because opportunity relates to hope. Okay, so this is the essence of the therapy. So based on these three variables, we can the product of these three variables is the 5 psychological states. The meaning of this graph is that you know, the x ordinate, yeah, no, the x, what we call it, the x line of, you can say that, the more to the right is the more hope you will have, and the more you go to the left is the more risk that you will perceive. So it means that your psychological states is going to be in a twin peaks, yeah, in a curve that shape a twin peaks with it, which is two possibilities to have a productive life, yeah. But there are three possibilities that can, you know, can make you kind of having problem with your mental health. Okay, so what are they? What are these 5 psychological states? The first one is which is the one that has most risk and least hope, is the psychological states of learned helplessness. We already learned this in psychology. So when you are in the psychological states of learned helplessness, you think that you are helpless, but actually the reality is not always true. That it's not always true, because it's your conclusion. So this is psychological state. So you think that you are helpless, and this why this happen? Because you focus too much on risk, and you kind of losing hope. Okay, so this is the first. The second psychological state is the condition when you are cornered, yeah, but you can still see, light at the end of the tunnel. Like you can see a hope, yeah. You can see opportunity even though you already cornered. You're already in the position that is unfortunate, yeah. But you see the possibilities. You still have a little hope, yeah. That's why it is called the psychological state of optimum challenge. So this happened, in a very situation. Maybe everybody has experienced this. Like when you do things in the last minute, it means that you are actually in the psychological states of optimum challenge, because actually your time is only some minutes left, but you still have time to finish maybe your work, your job, and so forth. So you will be highly motivated to finish it, to do it. But that is not, maybe you can succeed with this kind of attitude, but that is not the best thing that can happen to you. Okay. All right. And the third psychological state is the fatalism. Yeah, fatalism. Fatalism is when you see everything has a 50-50 chance. So you don't really have, prediction. You don't have, probability calculation. Yeah. You just think that, something can go bad or can some can be good or can be bad, and you don't feel that you have control of that. So this is fatalism. And the unfortunate thing is that sometimes we use religion or religious teaching as the excuse for this fatalism. Like everything has been decided by Allah and so forth, and you don't think you can do anything about it. So this kind of mindset or psychological states is kind of dangerous, right? Risky, yeah, because then if something bad happen, you will blame others, and if something good happen, you won't show gratitude because you think it's just everything is just uh, black and white, yeah, good or bad and something like that. Okay, so that's why fatalism is also not favorable. The favorable psychological states is called the optimum opportunity. So at this psychological states, your mindset is that in every situation, I can see opportunity. In every situation, I always have hope. Yeah. No matter how hard is the situation, I still have hope. Yeah. So this is actually is reflected in many famous stories or literature. Yeah. For example, if you have watched Gone with the Wind, yeah, actually the topic there is about hope. Yeah, like tomorrow is another day. That's a very strong statement. Even though the situation is so bad, everything she has, everything she loves is gone, but she still have hope. Tomorrow is another day. So this is the psychological states that is favorable, that you will never give up, that you always have hope for the future, even though your situation right now is not that, it's so bad, it's too bad. And this is also reflected in the people of Gaza, who always have hope, even though the whole world actually seem like doesn't care, and they have been tortured and bombarded and also killed, yeah. But they still have hope. Why? Because they believe when they die, it is shahid. So this is also a very related to spirituality or religious belief. When you not afraid of dying and you hold on something that you believe and you are not afraid of dying, then your hope will not disappear. You will not be frustrated. You will not lose hope. Okay, so this is the most healthy attitude toward life, and this is the purpose, the aim of therapy. We should help client to develop hope, even though they have been experiencing something very bad or something very disturbing and so forth. So this is a very important attitude and psychological states. Yeah. Now, this is quite interesting because when you see in the graph, the last psychological state is going down again. Why? It is the psychological state of comfort zone. So the psychological state of comfort zone means that you think you are over the, you are on the top of the world. You think nobody will, outperform you. Nobody is better than you. You think you are better, the best. You think you will. You are very sure that you will win. You are very sure that you will succeed. So those kind of mindset is called the comfort zone mindset. Yeah, the psychological state of comfort zone. When there is no problem, it seems that it is okay, but the reality of life actually is not always in accordance with our expectation. So that's why those who are in the psychological state of comfort zone, overconfidence, they will be shocked when things not, go, right. They will be very shocked when what happened surprised them in a bad way. Okay, so that's why this is also a very risky psychological state. So let's see in the in the curve here, we can see that the comfort zone is one of the condition, the states that is unfavorable, that makes you unmotivated or makes you don't want to put effort because you think you already on the top. Yeah, so it makes you not aware of the risk. So we can say that when you are in the psychological states of comfort zone, you don't see the risk. You are not aware of the risk that could happen to you or your career or your life. So this is the situation. On the conceptual, term, yeah. Actually, when you are in the psychological states of comfort zone, your hope becomes expectation. So hope and expectation actually two different things, and it has an opposite consequence on your psychological health. Okay, because hope, when you have hope in your heart, actually you are still tolerate uncertainty because you know that hope doesn't give you certainty. You are ready to face the risk and probabilities and uncertainty because you know that what will happen actually. You don't know. I mean, you know that you don't know what will happen. So the expression of this hope, for example, when you say everything is going to be all right, I think that's hope. Yeah, the future, the end is going to be better than this. Okay, beyond the difficulties, there will be a solution. Yeah, but you don't know what kind of solution you will have. But you believe. So hope actually is belief. Belief about the future, the good future, the good things that will happen in the future beyond uncertainty. So hope is a belief. Yeah. But expectancy is a demand. Like when you have expectancy, you want to have what you expect. You don't tolerate uncertainty. You don't want surprises. You think that everyone should do what you expect them to do. So this is the expectancy trap. I call it as expectancy trap. Okay. So the expectancy trap is one of the psychological problem that happens to common people. Like, you don't have to suffer a very severe a psychological issue. Maybe your life is like normal, but you can be trapped in this expectancy trap. Okay, but don't underestimate this expectancy trap, because I found 2 clients who experienced this. They they experience depression, and even severe depression, because they do not expect what they experience. I mean, like uh what they experience is not in accordance with their expectations, so they become depressed. Okay, so actually this is kind of it seems that it's simple, but the consequence is very severe. And there are some cases, a student, like a student that have a lot of what do you call it, achievement, yeah, the best student when they are in the high school, but when they experience the difficulties in the college, then they become depressed, and some of them commit suicide. So they cannot face the realities that is not in accordance with their expectations. So that's why this is, even though it seems simple, but this is very serious problem, psychological problem. So this is an illustration, yeah, as a closing, so that we can have a clear example of what this expectancy trap, yeah, that could happen to us. Let's listen to this short video.
People who get angry easily are not because of a bad temper, but because they have a wrong thinking habit. If you get rid of this habit, your temper will improve a lot. This kind of thinking actually comes down to 1 characters. Should. Have you noticed? Many times what makes us lose emotional control is not the thing itself. It is almost always because others, ourselves, or things, do not develop according to your expected shoulds. He should understand me. He should tell me in advance. Things should go according to the plan. They should consider me. But reality is often not like this. So you start to feel angry, disappointed, wronged, and feel that the world is against you. You are not angry at reality, but angry that the ideal shoulds have failed. In psychology, there is a term called cognitive distortion, and one of the most common types is shouldism thinking. The so-called shouldism is that we always set a script and an ideal state for the world. But once reality does not follow this script, it triggers strong frustration and anger. For example, when the other person does not reply to messages, you get angry because you think they should reply immediately. When others do not understand you, you feel wrong because you think they should understand you. When the leader adds tasks temporarily, you get angry because you think they should not treat you like this. When a friend breaks a promise, you feel down because you think they should keep their word. But have you ever thought about who set this should? It's yourself. The world has never been obligated to operate in the way you said. Every should is your demand on reality, not a promise from reality. The more you cling to how others should be, the easier it is for you to be led by your emotions, by the outside world. Life becomes more and more like a battle, defending your expectations and positions at any time. And this way of thinking consumes the most energy and is most likely to make people fall into a vicious cycle of anger, loss of control, and self-blame. You think you have a bad temper, but in fact, you are too obsessed. You think you are being reasonable, but in fact, you are emotionally blackmailing. You think you are fighting for fairness, but in fact, you are avoiding the ability to accept reality. What we really need to do is not to force others to conform to our shoulds, but to let go of control over the world and readjust our expectations of reality. You will find that many things are not worth getting so angry about. So what specifically should be done? When you start to get angry again, first ask yourself, who set this should? Is it just my subjective expectation? Do others really have an obligation to cooperate with me? Learn to replace should with hope, or preferably. For example, replace he should reply to me immediately with I hope he can reply to me as soon as possible. and you will find that your emotions are immediately less intense. Reduce the sense of control and improve adaptability. You can't control others, but you can choose your own response. When you let go of your obsessions, you take control of your emotions. Focus more on facts rather than expectations. Instead of expecting others to like you, first ask yourself, have I done anything today that is worth being liked? Instead of hoping things go smoothly, first ask yourself, am I prepared to face setbacks? Finally, I want to say, a truly good temper is not about not getting angry, but not easily having emotions kidnapped by shoulds. The earlier you let go of this wrong thinking habit, the freer your emotions will be, the easier your relationships will be, and the happier your life will be. Start from today. Have fewer shoulds and more allowances. Allow the world to be imperfect and allow yourself to be a little gentler.
Okay, so hope and expectancy is two different things, and actually they are the opposite. Yeah, hope is the wing, expectancy is a threat. Yeah, and the explanation in the video actually is related to our second module. Yeah, that our emotion is created by our thought. Yeah, so that's why we need to change how we think, yeah, so that we can manage our emotion. Okay, so that's about the psychological states. So as a conclusion here, that expectancy will provoke anger, disappointment, and also stresses, but hope will give a peace, optimism, and resilience. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I can see a lot of gratitude and thanks to you, Prof, from the participants while you are presenting your talk. Alhamdulillah, a lot of participants were expressing their gratitude to the points and explanation you're giving. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. This is the fourth lecture today, so that was the conclusion. And it was what a beautiful conclusion that was, Prof. We do have about 3-4 minutes extra. Not many questions have been raised directly, mostly summarizing your points as you were talking. The students were summarizing them, identifying the issue of hope and expectation and the importance and differences between the two. Probably the Prof, what you can do in these minutes is to bring that last point, the should, because we, as from the religious perspective, we have this moral code. We are supposed to do certain things and not to do certain things, and sometimes we become so hard on ourselves that when we do not fulfill the expectations of ourselves as good Muslims, we feel depressed. And so psychologically, how can someone use what you have just mentioned, accepting our imperfection, to motivate ourselves instead of being depressed, but to improve ourselves to be better Muslims and better in terms of our mental health?
Okay, so this is when we have to submit to Allah, yeah. And as if we refer to the Surah Al-Inshirah, yeah, it is said that there's a hope, yeah, and also then فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَى رَبِّكَ فَارْغَب. So what you have to do is do good things diligently, but anchor your hope to Allah only. You hope for Allah blessing only or Allah decision. Never expect anything as a result of your effort. Your effort is only for Allah. So that is that is the best attitude, so that we can be, avoided we can be protected from disappointment, from stress, from anger, because we just do good things and that's it. Okay, so this is the message of in the Quran that relates to this this idea, this theory, this concept.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Prof. Dr. Jamil, are you with us?
With you. Yeah.
Yes, Dato. If you have any concluding words for our first part being completed today,
Okay.
before we can finish, inshallah.
Okay. Thank you very much, all the speakers. All the speakers today, and also the participants. Just a reminder, during Ramadan, as what has been mentioned by Dr. Rashad, is that our class will begin at 10 o'clock. And instead of finishing at 12:30, we will finish 1:30. Inshallah, you have time for Zuhur, inshallah. And there will be another 4 weeks in Ramadan. And then we will have a break at the end for the Shawwal. I think the three classes we miss, and then we start again, inshallah. So we'll inform you from time to time, inshallah. And many people were asking about the quizzes, and our secretariat handled by Brother Shazwan, inshallah, will inform everybody in the group regarding the quizzes that he is going to give, inshallah. And I think that's all. Thank you very much, Dr. Rashad. You've been with us for 4 weeks, alhamdulillah. So inshallah, Ramadan Mubarak to all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
Dato. So Alhamdulillah, that concludes our session. Just to final point, there is no quiz immediately after the first part. So there is no quiz now. The quiz will be later, as it will be announced by the Secretariat after the other parts have been completed, not now. So please rest assured. And Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. We had more than 200 participants listening to this session today live on Zoom and others on YouTube and other platforms. So Alhamdulillah, it was a very lively session. Jazakumullah khair. Ramadan Mubarak. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.